transition. Yes!
For nearly 30 years, the WNBA has often been seen as the underdog of professional sports, struggling to gain the same respect and attention as its male counterpart. Some folks might even joke that if they stumbled upon a game in their neighborhood, they'd think they were witnessing a neighborhood dispute rather than a legit sports event. But hey, hold on to your hats, because there's a glimmer of hope on the horizon. It's like the basketball gods have sent us a savior, a real-life hoops messiah, who could potentially shake things up and breathe new life into this league's story. So, buckle up, folks, because this could be the game changer we've been waiting for.
Both teams have it. Caitlyn Clark!
Gentlemen, yes. Big news in the basketball world. Caitlyn Clark, arguably the most legendary female college basketball player ever, is making her debut in the WNBA this season.
Obviously, my focus is here. You know, my goal is to win a national title. That's plain and simple. That's what I want to do.
Some folks are saying she could be the game changer for the WNBA, like how Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, or Michael Jordan were for the NBA. Now, don't get me wrong, Clark's got serious skills, and watching her play is a thrill. But here's the thing. The WNBA scene might not be as welcoming to her success as you'd hope. It's not because she lacks talent or charisma. It's because of some deeper issues within the league. See, the WNBA has its own set of challenges. It's not just about the game. It's about the players,
Question for me.
the media, and the culture surrounding it. And unfortunately, there's a bit of a rift when it comes to embracing someone like Caitlyn Clark. Let's talk about it. The truth is, the league is mainly made up of players who've bought into a certain brand of feminism, one that's hyper-focused on issues like race, sexuality, and gender identity. It's what some call the oppression Olympics, and players who've absorbed this mindset might not be too keen on Clark becoming the face of the league. Why? Well, there's a few reasons, but let's keep it real here. Clark represents something different in a league that's often dominated by LGBTQ+ players. Now, you might think, why should that matter? And hey, I get it, but let's hear from someone who's been in the game. Former WNBA champion Candice Wiggins has spoken out about this. They've seen firsthand how the league operates and the challenges someone like Clark might face. And it's not just about her skills on the court, it's about the culture clash she could encounter. So, as we gear up for the WNBA season, let's keep an eye on how Caitlyn Clark's journey unfolds. Will she overcome the obstacles? Will she become the icon the league needs? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, it's going to be one heck of a ride. Meet Candice Wiggins, the former basketball sensation, who faced a tough reality in the WNBA. Imagine having your dream career turn into a nightmare. That's what happened to Candice. Instead of living out her basketball dreams, she found herself tangled in a web of hostility and harassment. Candice didn't fit the mold of what most people thought a WNBA player should be. She wasn't just talented on the court. She was also openly heterosexual in a league where she felt like a minority. In her own words, being one of the very few straight women in a league where nearly everyone else is gay. Candice felt like she stood out like a sore thumb. She faced jealousy, competition, and a constant struggle for recognition.
Everybody would just seem like, I don't know, everyone had a kind of an attitude or a chip on their shoulder when it came towards me.
It wasn't just about how she played. Even her appearance added fuel to the fire. But it wasn't just about Candice. She saw the bigger picture. The WNBA was struggling. Minimal viewership, empty seats in stadiums, and giveaways that still couldn't fill the stands. The league was battling for attention, and players like Candice felt the pressure on and off the court. For Candice, it wasn't just about basketball. It was about identity and acceptance. She dared to be herself in an environment where conformity seemed like the only option. But despite the challenges, Candice stood tall, sharing her story to shed light on the darker corners of the WNBA. So, let's talk about Wiggins for a sec. She really spoke out about the WNBA, right? But instead of getting some love from the media, they kind of threw her under the bus. They focused more on how the league was growing, like, hey, look at all these fans coming to games. But here's the thing. They were missing her point.
Just so you know, Ms. Wiggins, last year 20,000 fans came to Game 5 for the Minnesota Lynx. Viewership has gone up for the last 3 seasons.
But here's where it gets messy. The media, they're quick to jump on anyone who's got something critical to say about the WNBA. They'll throw around stats like, oh, this year's finals had the highest viewership for Game 3 in 18 years. But hold up, there's a catch. They conveniently forget to mention that it still fell short by over 200,000 viewers compared to that game 18 years back. Plus, one of the teams from back then? Yeah, they're gone now. Imagine the WNBA scene, where media narratives and player attitudes often seem to be tinted by ideology. Now, picture Caitlyn Clark stepping into this arena. We've witnessed how they treated players like Wiggins, but brace yourself because Clark might face an even harsher spotlight. Why? Because unlike Wiggins, Clark commits the cardinal sin of being a white player in a league where racial dynamics often take center stage.
Unfortunately and very unfairly, the face of white female privilege in college basketball.
Let's take a page from the book of Sabrina Ionescu, a standout talent who once gave Steph Curry a run for his money in the three-point contest. She was a college sensation, racking up awards and drawing crowds larger than your average WNBA game. Yet, despite her prowess, stepping into the WNBA spotlight didn't shield her from scrutiny. In fact, she faced criticism from both players and pundits alike, simply because of her race. It's as if some believe that success in the WNBA for white players should come with a disclaimer: benefits from white privilege. Critics argue that these players aren't doing enough to support their black teammates, as if their whiteness somehow diminishes their credibility on the court. So, there's been some chatter in the basketball community, especially on platforms like Reddit, about NBA 2K's decision to feature Sabrina on their cover. Some folks are suggesting it's more about her race than her skills, which has stirred up a lot of discussion. Even some WNBA players seem to share similar sentiments. They've expressed feeling overlooked, especially when Sabrina, who's been getting a lot of attention, ranked much lower in player voting than in fan and media rankings for the All-Star game. It's disappointing because it feels like there might be some resentment and envy at play here. Perhaps some players feel threatened by someone who doesn't fit the traditional mold of a WNBA star stealing the spotlight. It's sad to think that this jealousy could overshadow the excitement of having such a popular player in the league. It's like they're willing to sabotage their own league's success just because they're not getting the attention they think they deserve. Unfortunately, Caitlyn Clark doesn't quite fit the typical mold of players in the WNBA, but not because she lacks talent. She's actually a college superstar, scoring points at a level reminiscent of legends like Pistol Pete. And she's not just making waves on the court, she's also drawing more fans to women's basketball than ever before. However, some articles have cropped up suggesting that Clark's rise to superstardom is because of her race, rather than her undeniable skill. It's disheartening to see her criticized for something beyond her control, especially when she's bringing so much excitement to the game. Even WNBA legends like Cheryl Swoops have joined in the critique.
Yes, records are made and set to be broken. But if you're going to break a record, this isn't just for Caitlyn, but you asked me about Caitlyn. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set it.
Okay.
Right? So if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlyn should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year, and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record?
But let's not forget, Clark's talent speaks for itself, and she's proving herself on the court every game. Well, let's break this down in a more relatable way, shall we? Okay, so everything that just got tossed out there? Yeah, not exactly lining up with reality. Makes you wonder, right? Why is there so much heat on Clark? Well, seems like jealousy and some pretty weird ideas might be lurking behind it all. But here's the thing, folks. Among all the noise, there's a speck of truth. There are players in the WNBA who've been chanting about fair pay for ages. But here's the kicker. They might be shooting themselves in the foot by not rallying behind Caitlyn Clark. She's got serious potential, folks, like face of the league potential. But instead of cheering her on, some are letting jealousy and skewed thinking get in the way. And hey, if fans do start rooting for Clark and she starts dominating, guess what might happen? Yep, the media might jump in, calling her fans racist for not backing the WNBA sooner. It's like shooting yourself in the other foot, isn't it? Bottom line, Caitlyn Clark could be a game changer, folks. Like, really shaking things up. But it seems like some folks just can't get on board with that. Instead of building the league up around her, they're more focused on tearing her down. Kind of a missed opportunity, don't you think? Anyway, thanks for tuning in, folks. Let's see where this wild ride takes us, shall we?